My name is Adele Petty. I'm 26 years old, and if you ever want to feel truly invisible, try being the unemployed adult daughter in a family where your older sister has 3 kids, a husband who calls himself a crypto advisor, and a mom who still signs her texts with love and light like a one-woman cult. I didn't plan to move back in with my parents. It wasn't some cute 20-something cliche about finding myself or saving money for a startup. I'd just been laid off from my warehouse job after the company downsized again, and after a string of interviews that all ended with, "We'll be in touch." I ended up back in my childhood bedroom, staring at glow-in-the-dark stars still taped to the ceiling and wondering where the hell I'd gone wrong. The deal, at least on paper, was simple. Stay here rent-free while I got back on my feet. Or so I thought. On day 6, after I made the tragic mistake of sleeping in past 8 a.m., I found a sticky note on my bedroom door. It was in my mom's cheerful cursive with little swirls under the letters, like she was writing in a gratitude journal. "We need to talk family meeting at 9. Ah, yes, the famous family meetings, otherwise known as everyone gangs up on you but pretends it's love. I pulled on sweatpants and one of my old t-shirts, the hem fraying, socks with a hole in the heel, and headed downstairs. The house smelled like coffee and toast, and just a hint of impending doom. My dad sat at the table sipping coffee like a CEO about to make budget cuts. Mom had her yoga mat rolled up beside her chair, as if she'd need to ground herself before ruining my morning. And my sister Olivia was already mid-rant, her youngest screaming in the background because he apparently wasn't allowed to bring a live frog inside. "Okay," Mom said, smiling the way only a woman deeply committed to denial can smile. "Let's talk about how we can all support each other during this time." Translation: let's assign you unpaid labor under the illusion of community. Dad cleared his throat. "You've been here a while now." "6 days," I muttered. "Right," he said, ignoring that. "And we know you're recalibrating." He said it like I was a broken thermostat. Olivia jumped in, eyes shining with that manic, over-caffeinated mom energy. "Adele, seriously, this is such a blessing in disguise. I am drowning. I've got 3 little ones, my Etsy shop, and a very important partnership with an influencer who promotes my handmade toddler overalls. I need support." Mom folded her hands like she was hosting a daytime talk show. "And you can stay here rent-free, sweetheart," she said, "as long as you help Olivia with the kids from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday." For a second, I genuinely thought they were joking. I looked from face to face, waiting for someone to crack, to laugh, to say, "Kidding. You're not actually being asked to work a 66-hour week as an unpaid nanny while you look for a job." No one laughed. They were serious, dead serious. Olivia just raised her eyebrows like I'd been granted some holy mission. "They're good kids," she said. "Just energetic." Energetic. That was one word for it. The last time I watched her twins for 20 minutes while she ran to Target, one of them locked me in the pantry and the other threw a bag of flour down the stairs like it was a snowball fight. My hair was still finding flour weeks later. "And of course," Mom added quickly, "this is temporary, just until Liv lands a few more brand deals, and maybe while they finish the new patio, and—" She shot Olivia a look. "And while we try for a 4th soul," Olivia added dreamily, like she was talking about adopting a kitten, not another human. My soul briefly left my body, waved goodbye, then came back wearing combat boots. I cleared my throat. "So let me get this straight," I said. "I live here, and in exchange, I become your full-time, free childcare provider." "You make it sound so transactional," Mom said, offended that free labor was being correctly identified as free labor. Dad chimed in. "Families help each other, Adele. You're not working right now." There it was, the setup. I wasn't a daughter. I was an available resource. "I'm looking for work," I said tightly. "That's kind of the point of me being here." "And you will," Mom said, in that airy voice she used right before steamrolling someone. "But in the meantime, you can contribute. Think of it as your rent." The room shrank around me. My childhood trophies still lined the far wall, participation ribbons, as if my whole life had been a training program for showing up and taking whatever's handed to you. I suddenly saw it all differently. Not nostalgia, but evidence. Evidence that I'd always been the flexible one, the one who could handle it. "I'm not comfortable with that," I said. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my neck. 66 hours a week is a full-time job, more than a full-time job. I came here to get back on my feet, not to be absorbed. It's not forever, Olivia said with a little shrug. Just until I land a few more brand deals and the patio's done and we figure out the preschool schedule and I catch up on sleep and, life stuff. In other words, forever. I looked at my dad. You're really okay with this? He gave me this disappointed sigh like I'd just asked for a pony. We're all under one roof, Adele. Everyone has to step up. Funny. I didn't remember anyone asking Olivia to step up when I was the one sick in bed last year and still answering calls to pick up her kids from daycare. In my head, I heard my boyfriend Jonah's voice, low and dry from the night before on the phone. If they start talking about helping the family, check the fine print. My ex did that. It always meant free labor with a smile. I'd laugh then. Now it didn't feel funny. Mom reached across the table, putting her hand over mine. This is an opportunity, she said softly. You get a safe place to stay. We get some help. It's win-win. My skin crawled under her touch. I was suddenly, painfully aware that in this house, my basic survival, food, a bed, 4 walls, was being framed as a debt. That night, I didn't give a big speech about boundaries. No slamming doors. No dramatic monologue about labor laws and emotional manipulation. That would have just given them something to argue with. Instead, after everyone went to bed, I quietly packed a duffel bag, a few changes of clothes, my worn-out sneakers, the old hoodie that still smelled faintly like popcorn from college movie nights. I slipped my phone and charger into the side pocket and looked around the room one last time. The glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. The 6th grade soccer trophy with my name half rubbed off. The desk where I once filled out college applications by myself while Mom braided Olivia's hair for another dance recital. On the fridge downstairs, I left a note in thick black marker. Thanks for the opportunity. I decline. Adele. No explanation. They had never listened to long explanations anyway. I stepped out into the cool, pre-dawn air, duffel on my shoulder, heart pounding and strangely light. I didn't know exactly where I was going, just that I wasn't staying here to pay for my existence with my sanity. I texted Jonah. Me, is your couch still terrible? Jonah, yes, come over. I'll flip the cushion so it's terrible on a different side. 10 minutes later, I was in his tiny apartment, all peeling paint and mismatched furniture. It smelled like cheap coffee and the scented candle his ex-girlfriend had left behind, something called cozy rain. I dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, and collapsed onto his lumpy couch. It was uncomfortable as hell. The fan squeaked. The window didn't open all the way. And I still slept like royalty. No baby monitors. No passive-aggressive to-do lists taped to the fridge. No 7 a.m. wake-up calls from a 4-year-old holding a stick of butter like a lightsaber. Just silence. The first message came in before noon. Mom, hope you're just out getting some air. Olivia's morning was a little intense. Give us a call. Love and light. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Part of me thought maybe they'd get the message, that my absence would say what my words never could. But then I remembered who I was dealing with. These were the same people who once forgot to pick me up from high school because Olivia's gluten-free muffins went viral. I'd walked 6 miles home in the rain. Dad called it building resilience. By 4 p.m., the second text arrived. Olivia, hey, can you come tomorrow instead? Milo put Play-Doh in the Roomba, and now it's just smearing color everywhere. I didn't reply. The funny thing about silence is people project onto it. And judging by the way my screen started to fill with missed calls, voicemails, and new messages, panic was starting to creep in back at my parents' house. I rolled onto my side on Jonah's awful couch, pulled his extra hoodie over my shoulders, and let the phone buzz face down on the coffee table. For the first time in a long time, the only thing I owed anyone was nothing. And I knew they weren't going to accept that quietly. Not my family. Not ever. By the next morning, my phone looked like it was having a seizure. Buzzing, flashing, vibrating against Jonah's chipped coffee table like it was trying to escape. 4 missed calls from Mom, 2 from Dad, 7 from Olivia, and 1 accidental FaceTime from something labeled Niece Cam that immediately triggered my fight or flight reflex. I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I sat on Jonah's tiny patio with him, eating gas station burritos that tasted like regret and letting the warm, muggy air settle on my skin. It was the first time in months I didn't feel like I was bracing for someone else's emergency. Jonah nudged me with his elbow. You want to listen to one of the voicemails? The chaos in your house has probably escalated to biblical. I snorted. I'm not ready for that level of trauma bonding yet. But the universe had other plans. At 10:56 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Another FaceTime from niece Cam. Jonah raised an eyebrow. Want me to answer and pretend to be tech support? No, I sighed. Let's just get this over with. I swiped. Instant pandemonium filled the screen. The camera was moving wildly, like whoever held it was running full speed through a disaster movie set. Something white and powdery floated through the air like fallout. A shriek pierced the audio, followed by a crash. Then chaos focused into Olivia's face, flushed, sweaty, hair sticking out in 3 different directions. A plastic fork was holding her bun together, and her oversized t-shirt was covered in... Was that applesauce? Yogurt? Paint? Human tears? The blend was alarming. Listen, she snapped, gripping the phone like it was a hostage ransom video. Behind her, one child was crying, one was laughing maniacally, and one was coloring on the wall with a crayon the size of a small dagger. Adele, she said through clenched teeth. I might have... A crash. A scream. Something that looked like a juice box flew across the screen like a projectile. I might have underestimated how much the kids love you. A blur of movement. The phone suddenly flipped, and now the toddler with purple marker smeared across his face was holding it. He leaned in so close I could count his eyelashes. Aunt Adele, he whispered, eyes wide like he'd witnessed war. Why poop orange? Then he sneezed on the screen and hung up. The FaceTime ended. Jonah was wheezing beside me. Oh my God, your family house looks like a nature documentary where everything is dying. I shook my head, half laughing, half horrified. That's day 2 of me being gone. And oh, it only got worse. Around noon, Dad left a voicemail. He almost never used his voice. He communicated exclusively through GIFs and one-word texts. So this was serious. Hey, Adele, things got a little wild here. Your mom's trying her best. Give us a call. In the background, I heard something crash, loudly. Then Dad whispering, Don't touch that. No! The voicemail cut off with a clatter. Jonah paused his soda mid-sip. Your dad whispered like the kids were wild raccoons. That's not inaccurate. At 1:43 p.m., Mom called. I didn't answer, but her voicemail came in instantly. Her voice sugary sweet, but with the tiniest tremor underneath. Honey, I know you're probably just taking time to yourself, which is wonderful and healthy, but if you're free later, we'd love to chat. We're just reevaluating some of the family support dynamics. Family, support, dynamics. That was a new one. Translation: we are knee-deep in glitter and regret. I leaned back, letting the warm sunlight wash over me. For the first time in years, their panic didn't feel like my responsibility. It didn't sink into my bones like guilt. It didn't make me reach for my shoes. It just floated away, because I wasn't coming to save them. At 3 p.m., Olivia tried again, this time sending an accidental selfie. In the background, a toddler was hanging from her hair like she was a human jungle gym. A second message followed. Can you please pick up tomorrow? Please. I didn't reply. Jonah tossed me a bag of chips. You want to watch something? Distract yourself? Sure, I said, but no family movies. I want something with 0 children in it. We settled on a crime docuseries. 15 minutes in, my phone buzzed again, this time with a blurry photo from Mom. Olivia was standing ankle-deep in what looked like spilled yogurt. A caption. We're all doing our best. Followed by, please come home. Home. That word clenched something inside me, because home wasn't supposed to feel like a debt, or a job, or a battlefield you were drafted into without consent. Jonah glanced over. You okay? I nodded, but I wasn't. I felt something sharp. Anger, grief, clarity, twist deep inside my chest. This wasn't new. This wasn't sudden. This was the 1,000th time. That night, just before midnight, Olivia sent another voicemail. This one sounded different. No fake calm, no performative stress, just tired. Okay, she said, voice cracking. I get it, I do. You weren't just helping. You were holding everything together, and I didn't see it. None of us did. Please, Adele, we're drowning. Can we just talk? I'll pay you, I swear. I sat up. Jonah muted the TV. What's wrong? I held the phone out so he could listen. When it ended, he exhaled. That's the first real thing she said to you in years. I nodded. It is. For a second, just a second, I imagined going back. Not to be their nanny, but to help the kids, to help Olivia breathe. But then another memory hit, sharp and cold. Last Thanksgiving, the 6-hour babysitting favor, the new haircut, the Starbucks cup, The "you're a lifesaver, but not thank you." The endless cycle. The guilt, the manipulation, the expectation. The complete lack of reciprocity. My stomach tightened. They didn't want change. They wanted me, back in the role they built for me. I locked my phone, set it face down, leaned my head against Jonah's shoulder. "I'm done," I whispered. "I'm really, really done." He nodded, squeezing my hand. "Good. About damn time." But my family wasn't finished. Not even close. At 7:12 a.m. the next morning, the first threat arrived. Mom's voice, sharp and clipped in a voicemail. "You know, not everyone gets to live rent-free these days. You should be grateful we even offered." Ah, there it was. The shift. Silence didn't work. Guilt didn't work. Bargaining didn't work. So now, threats. Classic. I took a slow sip of my terrible gas station coffee and waited for the next stage. It arrived at 7:28. Olivia's voice furious. Milo flushed half a roll of quarters down the toilet, and the plumber is quoting $600. "This is your fault. You left. You abandoned us. If you don't come back, don't expect this family to be here when you need something." Jonah blinked. "Did she just blame you for plumbing physics?" "Oh yeah," I said. "We're in the danger zone now." By noon, Dad had texted, "Mom's a wreck. Kids miss you. Be the bigger person." Bigger person. Family code for sacrifice yourself so we don't have to. Jonah looked at me, serious. "What are you going to do?" I exhaled slowly. "I'm going to do what they've never done for me." He tilted his head. "What's that?" I stared at the buzzing phone. "Nothing." And I let it ring. By day 3, my phone had so many notifications it might as well have been screaming. Missed calls, voicemails, texts so long they looked like essays. Half of them guilt, half of them anger. And, right on schedule, the next phase arrived. Desperation disguised as concern. At 11:03 a.m., my neighbor from back home texted me out of nowhere. "Neighbor Ron, your mom's outside. Been knocking for a while. Looks serious." My stomach dropped. "Serious how?" Jonah asked, peering over my shoulder. I texted back. "Me, what's she holding?" Ron replied with a blurry, zoomed-in photo. "Mom, standing on my parents' front porch, holding a bright blue Tupperware container." I groaned out loud. Jonah slapped his forehead dramatically. "She brought muffins, didn't she?" "Banana," I whispered, "the guilt flavor." But before I could even panic properly, another knock hit Jonah's apartment door. 3 soft taps. Then, "Adele, honey, it's just Mom. I brought muffins." Jonah froze like an animal sensing danger. "Oh my God, they've tracked you." I mouthed, "Don't move." We sat perfectly still on that horrible couch, breathing like fugitives hiding from the law. The fan squeaked. The clock ticked. Mom knocked again. "Sweetheart, let's just talk. I know you're upset. I can feel your energy." Jonah whispered, "I swear if she starts chanting, I'm leaving through the window." We waited, not moving, not breathing. Eventually we heard footsteps, a sigh, the rustle of Tupperware, and then silence. She left. Jonah face planted into a pillow. "Your family terrifies me. You and me both." But we weren't safe yet. At 3 p.m., Olivia sent a new voice memo. Her voice sounded frayed, like someone had taken sandpaper to her last nerve. "Okay, Adele, please, just listen. Mom's trying to keep it together, but we haven't slept, the house is a disaster, and— Wait, put the scissors down. Those are not for haircuts." A loud crash, a scream. Something that sounded like a dog barking inside a cabinet. "I gotta go," Olivia panted. "Please, just think about it." The message cut off abruptly. This time I didn't laugh. I didn't even smirk. I just sat there staring at the wall. Because I'd heard this before, not the chaos, though that was new-level chaos, but the message beneath it. "We're falling apart without you. Come fix it. Come be who you were. Come be what we need." Not who I was, who they wanted me to be. Jonah sat down next to me, handing me a soda without saying anything. I started, then stopped. My throat tightened. "You feel what?" he asked gently. I swallowed. "I feel done," I whispered, like I hit emotional bankruptcy. He nodded. "That's what happens when you've been the unpaid emotional laborer for years." I didn't answer, because he was right, and hearing it out loud made something shift inside me. A memory bubbled up, sharp as glass. 2 years ago, I was sick, flu, fever, chills, couldn't move, could barely eat. 3 days in bed. Not one of them checked on me, not once. Meanwhile, when Olivia sprained her ankle stepping off a curb, Mom practically put her on bed rest, and Dad carried her plate to the couch like she was royalty. A familiar burn crawled up my spine. At 7:41 p.m., Olivia tried again. A video this time. The camera panned across her living room. The wall was covered in marker. The couch cushion was missing. A trail of shredded paper led into the kitchen. A child stood on the counter, pouring syrup onto a laptop. The dog had patches shaved into its fur. Another child was chasing it, yelling, "Aw, stop moving, I'm making you a princess." In the center of it all was the youngest holding up a crayon sign. "Come back, Aunt Adele." The L was backwards. He waved, then sneezed directly onto the phone. The screen went blurry. Olivia's voice entered, breathless. "Please, just tell us what you want. Anything, we'll do it. Tell us how to make this right." I stared at the phone for a long minute, then another, and finally typed, "Start by respecting the word no." I hit send. The message delivered instantly. No reply, no three dots, nothing. For a moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, they understood. But I knew better. With my family, silence wasn't surrender. It was strategy. And the next day, the pity show began. At noon, a group message appeared. "Mom, family love." It was an album of old photos. Me and Olivia in a sandbox. Us at a petting zoo. A grainy pic of me holding one of her kids, covered in baby food, but smiling proudly. Then Mom texted, "We know we've made mistakes, but family sticks together. That's what love means." I rolled my eyes so hard I saw my brain. Love didn't mean servitude. Love didn't mean exhaustion. Love didn't mean me being everyone's emergency exit. I didn't reply. Then, for a whole day, silence. Not manipulative silence, not waiting out the storm silence. Just nothing. Jonah and I were sitting in the tiny kitchen eating cereal when he walked in holding his phone like it was radioactive. "Adele, you need to see this." He turned the screen toward me. A Facebook post. From my mother. Public, long, dramatic. When your heart breaks because someone you love walks away, you bake, you pray, and you wait. Below it was a picture of course, banana muffins, with a candle stuck in the middle like a memorial. Comments were rolling in. Sending hugs, "You deserve better, Queen." Kids today are so selfish. Stay strong. Jonah looked up at me, horrified. "She just called you a prodigal daughter in banana bread form." I exhaled slowly. This wasn't just guilt. This was a narrative. A weaponized one. The next afternoon, Dad texted, "Mom's not doing well. Olivia says you've made your point. Come home. We'll make adjustments." Adjustments. Like I was a thermostat. I sat on the edge of Jonah's couch, gripping my phone. They still didn't get it. This wasn't about terms, or perks, or negotiating a better deal. This was about me. About the years I spent being their backup plan, their safety net, their support beam. About the fact that they never once asked why I left. Only when I'd return. A cold clarity settled in my chest. Enough. I opened a new message to Olivia. Typed, "I'll stop by tomorrow, 20 minutes, no kids, just you." She replied instantly, "Yes, thank you, please, I'll make coffee." I locked my phone. Jonah raised an eyebrow. "You going back?" I nodded once. For 20 minutes. It was time to say the things I'd swallowed for 26 years. The next morning, I drove to Olivia's place with my stomach twisted in a tight, cold knot. Jonah offered to come with me, but I shook my head. This was something I needed to do alone, not for them, but for myself. Her neighborhood looked the same as always. Minivans in driveways, chalk drawings on sidewalks, a scooter abandoned on someone's lawn like a crime scene. But something felt different. The air was too still, too quiet, as if the house itself was holding its breath. When I knocked, Olivia opened the door immediately, like she'd been standing behind it waiting. She looked smaller, puffy eyes, hair in a messy bun with what looked like 2 pens and a crayon stuck in it, t-shirt with faded stains, a slow, exhausted exhale. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," I echoed. She stepped aside. "They're in the playroom, with snacks, and screens, and a bribe. We're good for 20 minutes. I walked in. The house felt hollow, not physically, emotionally, like the chaos had pulled all the oxygen out and left only the echo. We sat at the kitchen table, just the two of us. The same table where I'd folded laundry, packed lunches, and ignored my own exhaustion so many times it had become muscle memory. Olivia slid a mug toward me. Coffee, the way I liked it. It didn't feel like manipulation this time. It felt like surrender. She wrapped both hands around her own mug, gripping it so tight her knuckles turned white. Before I could speak, she inhaled sharply. "Before anything," she said, voice trembling, "I want to say, I'm sorry." My chest tightened. I didn't say anything. I wanted her to continue, to go deeper than the surface-level sorries we'd traded all our lives. She did. "I didn't see it," she whispered. "Not really. I took and took and took from you, because you always said yes, Because you always fix things. Because it was easier to need you than to manage my own life. A tear slipped down her cheek, and she wiped it away quickly, embarrassed. I thought you'd always be around, she said. Because you always were. I nodded slowly. I thought so too, until I realized around meant available. Not valued, not appreciated, just used. She winced, shoulders curling in like she'd been hit. I deserve that, she murmured. Our coffee sat untouched between us, cooling. I kept my voice steady, controlled, honest. You called me selfish, I said. Mom called me ungrateful. But do you know what I did the night before I left? She shook her head. I folded all the laundry, packed lunches, laid out clothes, charged the tablets, taped allergy notes on the fridge for the sitter you never hired. I swept glitter out of the carpet at midnight, Liv. Glitter. Do you know the emotional state required for that? Despite everything, her mouth twitched, guilt and a sad kind of humor mixing. Glitter is intense. But I knew, I continued, no one would notice. No one ever noticed. Not really. Her eyes filled. Adele, I'm so sorry. I leaned back, exhaling slowly. You want honesty? She nodded. Please. You don't want me, I said softly. You want help, a warm body to absorb the chaos, a pressure valve who doesn't explode. She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. I'm not your employee, Liv, I'm your sister. Silence. A deep, heavy silence. Then, in a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from her, I think I betrayed you. Something in my chest cracked, because I wasn't used to hearing her say things like that. Not in our family, not ever. I didn't soften, but I listened. I got used to you being the one who never said no, she continued. And when you finally did, it felt like betrayal. But it wasn't. I betrayed you. I used you, and I let Mom use you too. I swallowed hard. It hurt, but it was a good hurt, a necessary one. I took a deep breath. Do you remember my 14th birthday? I asked suddenly. She blinked. The one with the broken bike? Yep. I gave a bitter little laugh. I asked for that blue mountain bike all year. I drew pictures, saved chore money. Dad kept saying, maybe. Then on my birthday, I got the used one with no brakes. Olivia winced hard. I remember, she whispered. I'm sorry. You said you needed dance lessons more, I continued. And Mom said, she needs them more. Adele will survive. I paused. That's how it's always been, Liv. You need. I survive. Olivia shook her head, tears falling freely now. I didn't know. You didn't want to know, I said gently. But now you do. We sat with that for a long moment. Finally, Olivia wiped her face. I called a sitter, she said quietly. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm trying. It's not perfect, but I'm trying. I nodded. That's good. That's something. She looked at me with raw hope. Are you coming back? I shook my head immediately. Not as your unpaid childcare. Not as the family's backup generator. Not as the person who keeps you afloat while drowning myself. Her face fell, but I could see the understanding beneath the sadness. But, I added, I'll be in your life, as your sister, on my terms. She exhaled shakily. That's fair. I stood. She followed me to the door. I really am sorry, she said again, this time barely above a whisper. And I get it if you don't want to come back. I do. My hand paused on the doorknob. You ever notice, I said softly, that everything fell apart within 48 hours of me leaving? A dry, sheepish laugh escaped her. Yeah, I noticed. I'm not coming back to fix everything, I said. But I'll be around, if you respect the boundaries. She nodded slowly. I will. As I stepped out, I passed the kids' playroom. One of the twins was peeking over a beanbag chair, big, curious eyes watching me silently. A crayon sign was taped crookedly above the toy bin. Hi, Aunt Adele. Spelled correctly this time. Underlined. 3 exclamation points. No marker on the walls today. No syrup on the counters. Just a quiet, tentative wave from a child who didn't create this mess, but lived in it too. I smiled, waved back. Just that. No guilt, no obligation, no crushing emotional debt. Just a moment. When I got back to Jonah's apartment, he looked up from his laptop. So, he said. I dropped onto the couch. I finally said it. His eyebrows shot up. Everything? I nodded. Every word. Jonah handed me a soda. Good. You deserve to say it. I cracked it open, leaned back, and felt a weight lift off me. Not all of it, but enough to breathe. He smirked. So, muffins didn't fix it this time? I laughed. Not even close. The weeks that followed felt strangely quiet, an unfamiliar kind of peace, like someone had finally turned down the volume on a TV that had been blaring in my head for years. No barrage of guilt texts, no frantic calls, no toddlers screaming into my FaceTime, just stillness. For the first time in my adult life, silence didn't feel like the pause before someone needed something from me. It just felt like silence. Jonah and I fell into a comfortable rhythm in his tiny apartment. His couch was still terrible, the window still jammed, the fan still squeaking like it was haunted, but it felt like mine, or at least like somewhere I was allowed to exist without paying emotional rent. Every few days, Olivia sent short, respectful updates. Not paragraphs, not pleas, just small windows into her life. A photo of the twins at a park, clean, wearing helmets, not dangling from ceiling fixtures. A picture of her youngest proudly holding up a scribbled drawing of a dinosaur. A message that simply read, "Thanks again." No guilt, no twisting, just gratitude. For the first time, Olivia wasn't treating me like a crutch. She was treating me like a person. One evening, Jonah and I were sitting on the apartment floor eating cheap takeout off paper plates. He nudged me with his foot. "You seem lighter," he said. I shrugged. "It's weird. I'm not used to being not needed." He shook his head. "You're not used to being wanted without being used." That hit harder than I expected. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. I froze. Jonah looked over my shoulder like a meerkat spotting danger. "What does it say?" I opened it. "Mom, hi, honey. I understand if you don't want to reply, but I wanted to say thank you for everything, even the things we didn't see at the time." My stomach fluttered. This was new. I scrolled. "Mom, you were always there, and we took that for granted. That's on us. I hope we can start over someday. Truly." Before I could even absorb the unexpected sincerity, another message arrived. Just 5 minutes later. "Mom, also, do you remember the Amazon password? It says support ended, and we can't log in." I stared at my screen. Out loud, I said, "You've got to be kidding me." Jonah leaned in, read it, and let out a loud laugh. "Oh my God, she gave you closure and tech support in the same breath." "I know," I groaned, pressing my palms into my eyes. "It's poetic, in a tragic way." "So what are you going to do?" he asked. I didn't even hesitate. I forwarded her the password reset page and typed, "Support ended permanently." Simple, direct, a boundary in one sentence. I didn't expect a reply, and I didn't get one. But later that night, I checked the login activity out of sheer curiosity. They figured it out. Of course they did. Turns out people become resourceful when they stop expecting someone else to carry their mess for them. 2 mornings later, I woke up to another message, this time from Olivia. New video message. I clicked it. The screen opened to one of the twins standing in their living room, holding a large, slightly crumpled crayon sign. "Thank you, Aunt Adele." The letters were big and colorful. The backwards ones had been corrected. Underneath the words was a drawing. A stick figure version of me, holding a shield, deflecting spaghetti flying in all directions. I snorted so hard Jonah nearly choked on his cereal. He leaned over. "What's this?" "Apparently," I said, wiping a tear from my eye, "I'm a warrior now." He nodded in approval. "You kind of are." I replayed the video once more, and again. Then again, because something in my chest softened each time, some small, fragile part of me that had been starved for years. Not for praise, not for attention, just for recognition. Olivia wasn't asking for anything. She wasn't dangling guilt. She wasn't begging, demanding, or threatening. She was thanking me, purely, sincerely, with a crayon drawing and a shaky little voice in the background saying, "Aunt Adele made boundaries." I laughed again. Of all the things I thought I'd teach those kids someday, colors, counting, tying shoes, I never imagined I'd teach them boundaries. And maybe, in some strange, unexpected way, that was enough. The story didn't end with a dramatic reconciliation. It didn't end with a family hug or a perfect apology. It didn't end with me moving back home or resuming my unpaid duties. It ended with space, with breathing room, with a pause, with a tiny crayon thank you that didn't come attached to a job, a favor, or an emotional hook. Just thanks. And for once in my life, that was more than enough.